Liz Ross, how are you?
Yeah, great. How you going, Serene?
Very well. Would you like to introduce yourself very quickly?
Yeah, sure. I'm Liz from Newcastle, New South Wales. I love nature, I love animals and people, and I am a holistic relationship coach, um, counselor, and healer. So I help women and families to really heal and reconnect back to themselves to create fulfilling relationships. So, yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I like that you introduce yourself by saying what you love first.
Yeah.
We run a couple share houses. It's a fantastic job, and oftentimes I'll ask people. I think every time I ask people, what do you do for fun? And they always immediately think I'm going to say, what do you do for work? And then they're like caught off guard.
Yeah,
Like,
that's it. That's it. You got to keep it real, right? Like
yeah,
that human experience.
yeah, and almost the breaking of the mold. Like people assume you're going to say something, and so when you kind of twist it a little bit, they get a little surprised. Like they kind of jump out of the character they were becoming.
Yeah, exactly. It's like their ears pick up and they're like, oh, I might listen now because it's the unexpected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's this idea. I talked to Yitzi Tubal on my other podcast, and on my podcast on another episode, and we were talking about like how do you get really quickly to somebody's actual self. Like if you're at a cafe, you buy a coffee and you say, okay, like I want the latte. Here's my money, and then the cashier is kind of they're themselves obviously, but they're kind of acting as an entity of this coffee shop. Like they're acting as like they're an arm of the coffee shop. So like, what do you do to say to like get them to be themselves? And one thing is like, oh, what time do you get off work? How? I mean, maybe don't say what time do you get off work. That might be a little stalkerish. But
yeah. That's it. Yeah.
depends on the person. But like, how long have you been working? And then oftentimes they just prick up, and it's like you get their authentic self really quickly.
Yeah, that's so true. Like an icebreaker. And I hear what you're saying. Like I know that when I go to the supermarkets, I'm generally like, oh, hey, how you going today, mate? And they just look at me like confused, like, what did you just say? And I'm like, oh, I'm just asking how your day's going. And they're like, oh, you're actually asking genuinely. Like you're not just in a rush, you're like super present. And it's like, yeah, well, I'm just curious, because you're another human and we made eye contact. So why don't we give each other a smile, say a kind word, or ask a simple question like, how are you going today? That could change someone's life, right? Shift their energy for that shift or for that day. So
It could change someone's life. That's a great way to think of it too. I think of that nowadays when I'm conscious of it, and even when I'm not conscious, I'm sure I smile at strangers on the street. And I think I was having that thought, I think yesterday, like, oh, this could actually change someone's life because if they see a person smiling at them on the street, maybe they start smiling at people on the street too. And then maybe they just meet the right person, or maybe they just have a smile on their face more often and they feel happier with their life. They smile at their kids more. So those little things are sometimes what changes someone's life.
Yeah, I agree. Like that saying, I don't know who it's from, but like the simple things in life are free. And that's so true. We've got like access to the natural solar system, like the sunlight. We've got access to here in Australia, like to water and to an abundance of food and to resources online and to resources in our community. Like, I guess it's making people aware of the things that we do have, which creates that gratitude and appreciation. And the simple things like a baby laughing. I know I've got 8 nephews and a niece, so I see them usually, my 3 nephews, once a week. They live close by, so to have that, they make me realize the simple things in life are free. Like when they're laughing and smiling, that really brings me back grounded and present with them. And I'm like, man, like imagine if everyone just laughed and just played and was happy all the time, and could regulate their emotions so well. Like 1 minute the toddler is angry and then like within 10 seconds he's happy again. Like how cool would that be if we could be more adaptable and resilient with our emotions and stuff, and realize what we do have in our life, and the things that are going well, the things that are working.
Oh, oops. My battery is running low. This was not, I didn't,
That's okay. I actually put my Facebook or you know, when sometimes people message you,
Yeah.
I put it all down because I'm like, otherwise it'll make a lot of sound.
Yeah, I didn't realize I didn't plug in my laptop. I guess you're supposed to do that.
Yeah, no, and I'm so glad you said that because I'm making sure now that my laptop is plugged in and it is, and it's charging. So,
Right.
and it's a great metaphor, right? Like, because we should be remembering to recharge ourselves, like our phone and our laptops, like they're constantly needing to be on charge. And I guess the question I'd want to ask all of us is, how do we recharge ourselves? How do we recharge our energy for the day to keep going? Do we go for a walk or get sunlight or have a little bit of a kit nip or cat nap, whatever you want to call it, to recharge our energy? Because that's one thing I work in with my clients is all around energy, like healing and energy. And
One thing that I noticed about you immediately, Liz, is that you take a little thing in life and then you learn from it immediately. Like I talked about charging my laptop and you immediately turn that into like a metaphor of life. But I noticed you do that all the time. You're just constantly learning from everything. It's incredible. But I agree with you. Yeah, I listened to this podcast called Awakening OD.
Okay.
It's incredible. It's not for everyone. I gotta say that. She's this lady who she calls herself a 10th dimensional being or something like that, and
That's cool.
she like talks to aliens, and she is she says she is an alien, but she's and very funny. She doesn't take herself seriously at all, and she but the thing about it is it's wrapped in this very very audacious wrapping, but the life lessons she gives are amazing. Like she says, you know, we're all like, a lot of people are walking around with their phones on 2% charge, and you know, and then your phone is suddenly one day you get a great sleep, like you get a lot of exercise and your phone gets to like 80%. And then a lot of us, what are we doing? We're saying, oh, I better eat some chocolate cake. I better go out and get drunk tonight. And then your phone goes back down to like 4%. And you're like, oh, God.
Yeah.
And I took that so much to heart, because I was like, oh, I'm doing that sometimes. Like I'll feel great and then I'll eat something terrible. And so now when I'm thinking about like how good I'm feeling, I'm like, how do I keep this going? I want to have a streak of amazing days where I'm like feeling great. I'm super energetic. I'm like productive, but not just productive, but like I'm loving my work too. I'm in flow.
I love that. I love that. Like that question you just asked there about how do I keep this going? Like it's like, how do I keep that flow state? I guess that really goes into the feminine energy, doesn't it? Like the feminine energy of like flow, of open-heartedness, of vulnerability, of being present here right now. That you and I are impromptu speaking. We're sort of just speaking off the cuff, speaking from our hearts, and being present with each other and with our wider audience and whoever replays this. And I think there's power in that. There's power in that uncertainty, in that creation, in that co-creation. Yeah.
How do you recharge your batteries? What's your favorite way to do it?
Yeah. Oh, I love that question. I love meditating. So meditation and breath work are like my go-tos. I feel more in tune with my body and I can connect more to my feelings and emotions, and it allows me to just shut off my computer brain and my logical and intellectual brain to be like, it's okay now, you're safe to just chill out, you know, come back to your home, to your treasure, which is yourself. Because sometimes I feel like a lot of us, like I know that like with business, sometimes we might get distracted on like being on social media and comparing or doing things, and we're not actually coming back to reconnecting to our heart and our own space and our own energy to check in, like, where am I at today? How am I feeling? And breathing into that for a moment, like in for one big breath in and then releasing, like, okay, I'm feeling pretty chill right now, or I'm feeling like, if you're feeling angry or upset, like breathing through that, breathing into that, and going into that deep meditation. And people don't always see things in a meditation. They might feel things, or it might be blank, and that's okay. I want you to know and reassure you that the fact that you're closing your eyes and taking that breath and noticing your rise and fall of your chest, and noticing the sounds around you and how you're feeling in your body, It's actually reducing your cortisol levels and slowing down your central nervous system, so you're not in flight or flight response, like we tend to be on our 9 to 5 or daily routine. Like there's so much chaos there and adrenaline. But when we come back to our breath and to meditation, that's how to re-energize, how to get your energy back into flow. That's one way. And another way is I love going to the gym. So like going for a run, lifting weights to tap into my masculine. So my action taking, my passion, my drive, my fix it, like my do it, like the just do it slogan from Nike. I really love tapping into that energy because that masculine part of me gets so much passion and releases any emotions while he's doing weights or running, like, which is me. But then I come back and then I can co-create with my feminine energy, where we sort of come together and we're like, okay, let's like open up our hearts and create something. Like at the moment I'm writing a book, which I wasn't really going to mention that, but now it's out there. I'm not writing a whole book, I'm writing a chapter of a book, and a publisher came to me and asked me. So and I've got like 3 or 4 days. I had 4 days to do it in, so I'm 60% written. And so that's how I do it. I'll tap into my masculine, and then I'll tap into my feminine energy, and dancing and singing as well, like, and yin yoga. Those are like all the things I sort of do. But to not overwhelm me, I might only pick one a day. So I just tune into like, how am I feeling? What is it that I need? And if I need to slow down and be in flow, then I'll do like a meditation and a gentle nature walk, or singing yoga.
You made me think. So the flow state, and for those who don't know what the flow state is, maybe there are different interpretations of it. But what I know it as is like that state of mind when you're fully concentrated on something, and like time. Oftentimes time will be different. For me, oftentimes it gets slower when I play guitar, for instance. It seems like it's been an hour and it's only been 15 minutes. But sometimes time just disappears. Like, and you're just super invested. You're not really thinking about anything else except the task at hand. It's like that perfect combination of like challenge and interest, and to me flow sounds like the perfect combinations of the masculine and feminine energy. Like you have the work ethic. Like without the feminine energy, the masculine, maybe it's just like grinding, like you're just grinding at work, you don't really love what you're doing, you're just going through the motions. And without the masculine energy, it's like, oh, I'm gonna do whatever I want today, and I might not get any work done, and I might just be in my body and have a great time, and like but the two combined seems like flow energy to me.
Yeah, I loved it. I'm so glad that you said that. There's so much. Yeah, I hear you. It's like they complement each other. It's like yin and yang energy. We need both to be able to grow and to be able to evolve spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, energetically. They both bring energy with them. They both bring like an A perspective and a B perspective, and when the A and B come together, it might create a C, or it might create a Z, whatever it is. They can create and work together. So, yeah, definitely flow state.
What do you think feminine energy is? What is it to you?
Yeah.
I have a hard time defining it sometimes.
Yeah, I sometimes have difficulty defining it. I feel like I'm defining it every week or day. It sort of shifts for me. I believe there's like, I see it as pink energy, like an energy of self-expression that just wants to flow and be present and just smell the flowers and take her time and dance to the wind and sing to the birds. It's sort of like there's no structure there, really. It's just being present with her body, with herself, with her emotions, being present with other people, whether that's like her partner or friends, family, children. And there's power in holding that space of presence, right, for ourselves and for other people, because it allows that space. So I guess feminine energy to me is ever changing. Like there's no, I can't definitively call it black or white if I'm being like, completely honest about it. Like I feel like It just is.
Mm.
It's just like flow, like the wind or the waves, like a
Mm.
breeze almost.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's interesting. Do you keep any habits in your day, I wonder? Do you have any routines that you kind of keep pretty steadily?
Yeah. So I like to have a couple of routines. So usually each day I'll do some type of movement. That's probably my only structure for the day is movement. And I'll read a book, like
Mhm.
not a whole book, but like a few
Yeah,
pages of
yeah.
and other than that, if I do that, then I'm pretty good. I don't really have much of a routine per se, but I don't really like to be structured or boxed into the 9 to 5. I've sort of got a very open time frame and days that I work in my business, and I like to be present with myself and with my partner and my family as well. So having that really nice balance. But if I'm out in nature going for a walk, then I've had a really good day. Like
Mm.
that's my routine, because within that nature walk, I'm not just connecting to the sun and I'm not just feeling my feet connected to Mother Earth while I'm walking. I'm feeling the air on my skin. I'm doing the breath, and I'm almost like doing a walking meditation where I like look at the birds. And I saw some kangaroos the other day, and I'm like, wow, this is just so surreal. Like, to me, that's a great day.
Mm.
Yeah, just being really present with myself in the nature walk and coming back to myself and others. It really recharges me. It fills me up. I feel more grounded and more stable when I walk in nature.
And you carry it with you to everyone else too. You bring them the stable, grounded version of you.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's so true. It's important to have some type of either a routine or some certainty or structure of some kind. I think it's important because it does help with grounding, especially if we've been labeled certain things. Like, you know, I may have been, like, I was labeled as ADHD. I'm happy to say that on here. I hope that's okay.
You can say whatever you want.
They're like hyperactive and attention,
Yeah.
yeah, attention hyperactivity disorder or
If,
whatever it
if
is.
I went to a doctor and got diagnosed, I would bet large amounts of money that I would be diagnosed with ADHD as well.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
it's a gift, if I'm honest. Like, it really helps me. Um,
Also,
yeah, it's really helps to energize me. I know, like, growing up, I guess, and sometimes it's we may like process our emotions and energy slightly differently, and we may think about ourselves in the world differently. But I feel that, if we get into the elements, if we stretch out our arms and legs while walking and we connect back to our heart, ground that and anchor that energy, or that hyperactivity, so it's more stable and it lasts longer, I find. So my energy will stay, instead of just like a flood of water coming down the water slide or down the pipe, down the hose or down the waterfall, it's like a small trickle of water that's ongoing throughout the whole day,
yeah.
which helps with my focus and productivity and energy levels.
I should resend that. I actually probably don't have ADHD. It's ADD. I'm not like hyper energetic most of the
Yeah.
time. But if you even think of that word hyperactive, like what a strange word for that to be a problem. Because
Yeah.
you look at kids.
Yeah.
If you think about like what we used to be, kids love to play and run around, and these are just the kids who don't want to be, forced to sit at a desk for 6 hours a day, which is actually probably a sign of health rather
Yeah.
than ill health.
I hear you. I remember running out of the classroom all the time and being like, "Oh yeah, everyone's like the bell's ring. We're to go back to class." And I'm like, "No, we don't. Let's go down across there near the sheep, near the fence, and just chill out and have a picnic." And
Yep.
everyone would look at me like, "What?" And I'd be the only one going down there because I'm like, we don't have to listen to the rules all the time. Like,
No. I really think I don't have kids. If I ever do, if I'm ever lucky enough to, I think I will homeschool them because
Yeah,
I don't think. Well, it depends on the person too. It depends on what the kid ends up being. But like, I don't think so many of us left school and we just said that was terrible. I'm so glad I never have to go to school again. I feel personally robbed of my time. But
yeah,
like, and then we just decide that we are going to go and send our kids back to school. That's exactly, and it hasn't changed. I mean, maybe the curriculum's updated a little bit, but it's the same institution.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then, we don't seem to see any other options, many people. And um, yeah, it doesn't seem fair to me to send a kid to school.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. Like, and I think you're right. Like, it depends on the child and their needs, and also the parents, like what they both want, what their values are and beliefs are. But I
Mm.
see both sides as benefit. Like, I also don't have children myself. I've got 8 nephews and a niece, which I'm very blessed. But I know for my partner and his siblings, they all went to Steiner schools. Have you heard of Steiner schools?
Yeah.
And they loved it, like out in nature, like magpies, animals, and like learning different things. But they also wish that they learnt more of the science and the maths
Yeah.
as well. And then I was like, I wish I went to Steiner school. Like, I would have thrived in that environment. And then I've heard other parents that have homeschooled and their children are amazing. Like, they still go to sports and social things, and that they're able to I guess, learn in a way that suits their needs, that feels good for them. So I think with this whole COVID thing, it's sort of maybe created more homeschooling opportunities.
I think a lot more kids are being homeschooled now than before. A lot of
Yeah,
decided, I think it's like 10% or something crazy. I mean, a lot of parents just hopped on that train, and then all the resources came out, and I think a lot of them just decided to stay doing that. But yeah, who knows?
yeah,
Yeah, um, I have nieces and nephews too, and they are the best. They're
yeah.
incredible.
They're so cool, aren't they? Like, they're just
Um,
full of energy.
yeah, and yeah, they're like between 1 and 5, and it's they are so excited and happy about every little thing. And it's kids are nice because they turn your attention towards like a bird in the sky or something, they
Yeah,
get so
yeah,
excited about like the bird flying over, or like I do handstands with my nieces, and yeah, and so every time I see them we do handstands. Like I try to adapt. I try to make myself the one that they do physical things with, and then every
yeah,
time I play with them it's like super physical, and then it's just better for both of us.
yeah.
Uh,
Definitely, I'm the same with my nephews and my niece as well. Usually, like, we're playing trucks or like climbing the tree or like running around like out on the grass field, and I love it, and it's good. It brings their energy down to grounded and mine as well, and then that co-regulation where we're just grounded, just energized, grounded, and happy and free
yeah,
is
there's
what
uh,
life's about.
I talked to this guy who was a years ago who was he was like a wildlife instructor. Like he would like take kids and bring them through nature and like educate them and stuff. Really cool job, and doing the Lord's work. Really, that's what people need. And he said that there was a real difference between city kids and country kids, and I can see it now. Like thankfully my nieces and nephew are pretty good, but like some kids, when they're at home all day, they have like this almost kind of explosive energy. Like if you see kids who are kind of raised on computers, there's a lot of memes like they're talking about memes a lot, or like Minecraft or whatever, and then they have this explosive kind of what many people might say is disruptive energy. Well, it's like country kids. I think what you said with the co-regulation, they have that co-regulation really down. Like maybe they
Mm,
get a stable amount of energy, and then they have a stable amount of exercise, so like it brings it brings their moods. It helps them regulate their moods, I think, really well.
yeah, yeah, I hear you. And when you're talking into that, I thought about without names, one of my best friends, she's got 3 children, and they live out like, somewhere near Byron Bay area, and they've got like this little farm, and they used to live in sort of like the city, and now they're in the farm type of area. And the kids, went back to see them all to visit, it's like they were more like, it took them a while to move to get used to the new environment, and like they were a little bit moody and stuff to start with. And but then once they had a routine that felt safe, they were outside a lot more. They weren't on technology, even though they weren't really on technology that much anyway. They were eating like the farm foods and doing sports. It sort of, yeah, shifted their mood and their energy. They were sleeping better. They were learning better at a very open-minded school.
I'm
Similar
sure Byron Bay has a very open-minded school.
Yeah, which I love. I'm like, oh, we need more of that. Like teachers that didn't say to the children, okay, you're level 1 or you're level 10. And I was like, really? That's like, I heard that they love each, like they treat each one as equals, each child as equals, and they're all gifted and they're all intelligent. And I was like, why don't we do that in every school in New South Wales and in Australia and worldwide? Why don't we? Why does there need to be that competition or like levels? Because they should already feel that they're worthy and that they're intelligent, because they all are, right?
Yeah, it's tough. And that's another thing. Like some people thrive on competition, they love it and they need it. Like some people I think are just naturally that masculine competitive energy, and that's great for them, and we should like give them more.
Yeah.
What I would, if I could reform schools, one thing that I would do, I don't exactly know how this would work, which is maybe why it hasn't been done. But you know, you see kids sometimes, and like we all have different skills. Like you said, we're all special in different ways. But you see a kid who's really good at mechanics. He loves, like I know this kid, one of my neighbor's kids. He's very, very smart. He's 7 or something, but he's really good at building things. He knows all about like the way the Titanic is structured. He's like
that.
Titanic, loves it, and he knows all about the little different caverns and if I had my way, I would probably be taking this kid, and like he doesn't seem to like art that much, you know. Maybe he doesn't need to do art class. Maybe we give him a few hours a day of like building things, you know, learning about how to like how things are structured, like blueprints and models. Like he would thrive in that sort of environment. And I guess there's that argument that you should like expose people to different things and all that, but like I don't know. I mean, a lot of times we're 18 years old, we get out of high school and we have no skills. We have like so many 18-year-olds, and you know, in the past you used to have like apprenticeships. You were 8 years old and you go and learn how to be a blacksmith, and by the time you're 18, you're a master. And I would like to see more of that. Maybe stop complaining. Maybe I should do something.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think it's really important to talk about this topic, especially this day and age. Like a lot of the kids now are very conscious, like very spiritual, intuitive, sensitive souls, I feel. And we need to nurture them and also help them to grow, and then let them fly like butterflies or eagles to their full potential, so they feel empowered and they can tie up that rope, they can change that tire, they can be independent, you know. And I like how you said what was coming through to me is like with this whole schooling system for kids, whether it's homeschooling or like general schooling. I think it's important that they have that well-rounded of everything, so then it's good for their brain development and it tests them and stuff. However, I agree with you, perhaps they could spend more time, if they're gifted in one area, how about we pop them into that building class where they can have more time doing that, and then maybe only do like the art stuff for half an hour a day or like half an hour a week, so they're still activating that creative brain. But that child probably was actually activating his creative brain with the building, but maybe still doing the other areas of learning, but just in smaller amounts. That's sort of how I would probably do it. But also when you were talking, it reminded me of a movie, you know, where they put them in different groups, like there's like 4 or 5 different groups, where there's the fighters, where there's the nurturers and healers. It's like a girl with an arrow. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
The Hunger Games?
Yeah, the Hunger Games. I know that sounds terrible to say that, but when you were talking, it sort of reminded me of Hunger Games if we put everyone into their gifted areas.
Yeah.
They could excel in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That as well.
I agree. I read this book, The Case Against Education, which is a great title, excellent title. And he kind of sticks to it. He's not super for education. And he says, like, he actually has this very radical stance that we should not forcibly educate kids after, I think, a certain amount of years, after year 4 or something. Like, which is strange. But, like, you know, the things he does say is, like, most people probably don't need Shakespeare. I like Shakespeare personally, but I think I actually have appreciated Shakespeare way more as an adult when my brain is formed and I can comprehend it a lot better. I can, like, see the symbolism in it and things like that. And most people probably don't need that as much. You know, I didn't need trigonometry. Oh, who knows what we will need in the future and stuff like that. But, like, history class, for instance, I've realized recently, somebody said that history isn't very important. And I think I realized that history is really, really important if you have the capacity to process it and understand it. So, like, if you're reading a biography of an entrepreneur and you want to become an entrepreneur, you can suddenly see how he strategized things. If you're deeply interested in culture, then you suddenly understand how your culture was formed. But I don't know if everyone needs that at such a young age either, but perhaps I'm wrong. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Like, if you look at the science, our prefrontal cortex, where our executive thinking is, it's not fully developed until 25. And in some scientific articles and evidence-based research articles, our brains aren't fully developed till we're 32. Hence why I would totally agree with you on, you know, after year 4, allowing the kids to learn when they feel ready, because with all the labels that are coming out these days for kids, it's like, if we allow them to flourish and learn in a way where they like to learn and where they like to communicate, and that's going to help with their confidence, with their belief in themselves, with their resilience, because they're not being trained on read this book from A to Z. The kids are now, if they're allowed, given the permission to learn in their own time, they're able to become more open-minded and more creative and create resilience and things like that, you know. And if they learn better in nature, doing mud pies and counting them, or if they do better like reading and writing, then let's harness those strengths. Like, I agree with you. I flourish better at TAFE and uni. Not that people need to go to uni or TAFE, but I flourish better later than in primary and high school. Like, I used to have to go to special classes for reading and writing, and I'm an amazing reader and writer now because of the ADHD and things and behaviours. But I felt like having less people in the room, I wasn't as sensitive to the sound and the energy as well. And some teachers understood me and some teachers didn't. So I feel like the teacher's energy and their values and their intentions and the way that they speak to the children in the class can really help the child to flourish, the classroom to flourish, or not to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think ADHD I used to think of it as just a detriment, and now it seems much more of a skill. You know, everything has its flip side, right? But ADHD for me is like, I'm so interested in so many different topics that I can have a podcast and I can talk to, you know, a scientist, and then someone like you next, someone who's like into healing, and I can I have multiple different projects that I'm working on, and as long as I can make sure to only focus on a few and energy to a few and have priorities, which is, you know, once I harness that ability, now I have a multitude of interests, and you know, I've done really well post university, because for me, being handed an assignment and being told to do something never really vibed with me. I was never doing what people say. But, like, you know, I'm doing computer programming stuff right now, and, you know, I take a piece of data that I'm interested in, and then I conduct an analysis on it, and then I learn some statistics from it, and, like, I figure out what I need to do, and then I do it, and I'm chasing after my own project. Nobody's telling me to do this. And so suddenly And yesterday I spent like 4 hours on it. I mean, it's just, I can get really into flow state with it. And I think ADHD or ADD or whatever has been super helpful for me for that reason.
Yeah, definitely. Like creating a passion and a drive within you, because you know that you love that and you're passionate about that computer program, and it's not about you have to do it. It's like, I want to do this. I love doing this. This sparks my energy, my brain activity, and I can feel and think this way, and I can create and be in this way state. Like, I think there's power in ADD and ADHD and all of those other labels that are out there right now, like autism as well. It's a very common one I hear from a lot of the women clients that I work with. It's really being able to acknowledge it more than just a label, looking at the strengths that brings and how to communicate and open up that conversation so it's safe to talk about for people.
How do you open up a conversation and create like a safe space for people to talk about these things in?
Yeah, great question. I think by just being super present and being myself and just allowing the person to feel that energy of safety and security there, and just knowing that, and I can break the ice. I might like make a joke or like build the rapport first and just say like, how you going today? Like, where are you from? And start off sort of warming up like we've done. And then sort of just asking like, how can I serve you best today? Like, what would you like out of today's session? And then from that, it opens up the doors. Usually start with them and then it goes into the family. So, and then into their beliefs, and then into their behaviors and actions and how they may like to refine that so it's better for them and healthier for them and their family. But yeah, there's definitely a non-judgment and just an open energy of love and respect there. And I feel like people feel safe with that.
You said be yourself, and for me that might not work quite as well because I tend to, sometimes my approach can be a bit masculine and a bit attacking. Not attacking, but like I don't think I attack people necessarily outright, but it's something like I'm seeing a chink in their armor and then I'm telling them about it, and I'm exposing it, and then sometimes I think people can recoil if I'm talking about something that's a little bit too sensitive. So what would you say? What do you think the best way to do is to help someone grow and heal a part of themselves that's very sensitive, if they're a bit like me?
Yeah, definitely. So I guess helping someone to grow and heal that might be sensitive, and if their practitioner is like yourself, like how could you help them to grow and heal? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, how could someone help their partner if they're a bit too harsh sometimes?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, okay, I can work with that. So yeah, let's get into the relationships now. So yeah, definitely there is strength in knowing yourself, in being masculine. So in being, I guess, direct and knowing what you want. I think there is so much treasure in that, and it's like honoring and accepting that part of you. Like we all have similar parts like that, and knowing that it's okay to expose those parts, to just say it how it is, because that can help that other person and yourself to heal and grow in the time that it needs to. So I call it as a metaphor, if people can think of this, like the chisel and the hammer. So the chisel, you may think of this as like the feminine and the gentle soul, like, patient and kind and loving. Like that's a little chisel that chisels away at the clay or the mountain to open it up. But then you get these awesome sledgehammer people, which they are beautiful. They're very direct and honest and say it how it is, but they're also healers, because they're truth bearers. They're sort of just saying, this is how it is. This is what I see. What are the steps to move forward? Let's do it now. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's black and white. And I love that, because we need people like that have that deep discernment and that deep intuition of who they are, what the environment is, and other people. there is growth, and we need different types of people to help us to grow as individuals, to help the relationship grow between the two individuals, and to help the family and the community to grow. Because if we were all soft and nurturing and feminine and gentle, that's not always the best approach for every relationship, partner or client. Sometimes we need that direct approach and that person that exposes. I think the sledgehammer actually goes a lot deeper because they go straight to the root. They don't stay at the fluffy end. They're just like, bang, let's just go straight in. And there's a power there.
Oh yeah. But for instance, it's not always appropriate to use that. When somebody shows you, I've realized when somebody shows you a piece of art that they haven't published yet, that there's different stages in art, and one stage is when you're first starting. They show you something, they're just new at this art. It's still like a baby. You don't use the sledgehammer in that moment. You could clean this up a little bit. You could do that. The face looks kind of weird. You don't do that. You just that's the time when you say, I love that you're so inspired. I hope you keep creating. You don't need to lie. I don't think you should almost ever lie. Lying is for very specific circumstances, I think, that involve personal safety, but that's pretty much it. But you can say how inspired you are by them, and I'm so impressed by you, and all of those things. And because I think when you use the sledgehammer, when somebody's giving you something it's still like a baby, that's how I think of it, like a baby in their mind, then sometimes it can kill it. It can actually kill their creativity because they feel so disheartened.
I'd love to talk into this when but sorry for interrupting you. You finished your story though, because I just had a few ideas flood through. I hear what you're saying about a time. I'm hearing time and place. I think you did say there's a time and a place, right, to use the chisel or the sledgehammer. And you're right. And I love the metaphor that you use too. There is a time and a place, and I think it depends on the trust that you have with yourself and that person. Can I share this information with them now, or is this a later thing? Or is there a way that I can tell them in a way that they're going to hear me and take that information in a different way? So we'll look at if you think about the acronym PIP, positive, improvement, positive. So it's being I really appreciate you helping me build this artwork here today, or helping me build this cupboard here today. I feel amazing. I feel appreciated that you helped me and we did this together. Could we maybe move the cupboard over here as an improvement because it brings in the sunlight? That would be my suggestion. And then the positive would be, thank you for putting in this time and effort to finishing this cupboard today. I appreciate you. So it's sort of like the positive, improvement, positive. Or where you're sharing it, there's a positive and a positive at the end of it. Some people call it the shit sandwich. Didn't mean to swear there, but where it's
you can say anything.
A positive, negative, positive even.
Yeah.
So then the two positives outweigh the negative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that also wasn't too. I think we're still here. It's fine. Seems fine. It says I've been signed out, but I don't think I have been signed out, so it's okay.
Yeah, no, I can still see you and hear you.
Okay, perfect. So technical difficulties. So what was I going to say? Yeah. Also, I think focusing on somebody's the pros, focusing on what they're doing really well. If somebody's line works, I'm just doing art for whatever reason. If someone's line work sucks, but their colors are beautiful, you can just be like, hey, I loved your colors. They were incredible. Keep on working with it. And then, I don't even need to mention the line work really, unless, it depends. If somebody's about to submit something for an art gallery and they're asking your honest opinion, it's different. But you can always give them positive feedback in the right places, and then just kind of let them sort it out themselves as well.
Yeah, definitely giving them that empowerment back, that at the end of the day, it's your opinion that counts, it's your perception that counts. And even if they went to the art gallery and it was too abstract or they didn't like the lines, they're going to learn anyway. And and in saying that, like, also what I was going to say is asking their consent, like, is it okay if I give you the truth here? Like, I love the colors, it just blend amazing, but would you like some truth here that will help you grow?
That's tough though, because like, what then somebody says that to me, and I think of every single possibility that it could be, and I can't say no at that point for me, because they're saying 1,000 different things in my head. They've already fucked with my head. I can't say no to that.
Yeah,
You know what I do? You know what I do though? I said this to my friend the other day. He said, "Can you read over my writing?" And I said, before I read it, this is what I said. What do you? He said, "Can you?" I think he said, "Can you edit it or something?" And I was like, specifically, what do you want me to edit? Because I can edit how your sentences sound. I can edit like your grammar and your prose. I can, and I'll like I can edit many different things. And it's like, how much of a critic do you want me to be before I see it? I think
I
that
love that.
helped a little
That's
bit.
asking that permission, isn't it? Because it's like, do you want me to just look over the grammar, or like each paragraph, like the introduction, the conclusion, your body, and does it match up with the message that you're trying to get across to that particular audience? So I think, yeah, that's definitely asking their consent. And I guess some of the fears or the emotions that might come up are like people might feel threatened, like, oh no, what are they going to say? It's going to be bad. And I guess those would be the repercussions of asking like those questions, right? Like their consent to tell them the truth, or like their consent, okay, like how specifically or how far would you like my criticism to go here, or my
Do you work with a lot of artists?
I have worked with an artist before, actually. A couple of artists, one in graphic design and one a tattoo artist. So
oh, cool.
Yeah, they're very. The tattoo artist is very spiritual, and the graphic designer is very logical, very very logical. So it was cool to be able to connect them to their heart and help them through their way of communication as well in their relationships. Which brings us into love languages, right? Have you heard of Gary Chapman?
No, I don't believe I have.
Yeah, he talks about the 5 love languages. So if you look up Gary Chapman, guys, or the 5 love languages, he has like many books that you can go to. And the reason why I bring this up is because we all have a different love language. There's 5 different love languages. So we have like words of affirmation, quality time, physical touch, acts of service, and also gift giving. And some of us may have different percentages in all 5. Some of us may have one primary and one secondary one. And this is the way that we like to receive love and to receive communication. And then there's like an online test that you can do online, and there's one for like relationships, like partners. There's one for teenagers, children, and people in the defense force. So if you look up the 5 love languages quiz, you can answer all the questions. And then like for me, mine is words of affirmation, physical touch, and quality time are my top 3.
Yeah.
And my partner's is, I think, physical touch. So we were like, knowing the love languages of each other, we know how to communicate now to each other on a better wavelength, and how to receive. Yeah.
And it's giving and receiving too, right? And they can be different.
Yeah.
You're the person who gives, but you like quality time or something like that.
Yeah. So it's giving the person the gifts, and then also that other person maybe needs to be more mindful. Okay, well, my partner or my best friend or my child likes words of affirmation. What appreciative thing that is true can I tell them? Like I love you, or like I'm really proud of you today. You did an amazing job on your driver's test. You want to go for coffee?
Yeah.
It's really acknowledging them. And some people or some children, they might like their parents to give them a hug, like before bed or when they wake up, and that might be, or holding their hands while they watch a movie or something. That might be how they their love language. And then another child might like that quality time where they play card games or they go to the beach or they're like super active and they love that quality time, like mum time and then dad time, like having those special dates out. And same for the couples, looking at the partner, each partner, like, do they like to hold hands? Do they like gifts? Like, what's their primary and secondary love language? And then communicate their love language and allow them to know your love language as well.
Yeah.
And I feel like you hear each other more and you understand each other more, and then you both grow. I know that I certainly have, and like it's ever evolving and you're learning new things every day. Like, okay, well, maybe I could try something different just to change it up. So let's go for a movie for our quality time, or let's go to the cafe just to re-spark that sparkle.
Yeah, new environments are probably really, I think they're really important. It feels like you're in a new situation and you think differently when you're in a new place as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it creates new neural pathways and new memories and experiences, and creates that laughter and smiles, which releases the oxytocin, love hormone, and endorphins. And it's about recreating like when you first met, or recreating something new. And that's definitely possible if both people want that. You know, if they want to keep that fire burning, that love burning within them and within their relationship.
What do you think the most common issue is when you talk to people who are in relationships?
Yeah. So I feel like the common issue, I think there's a few different types, but I feel like the top 3 common issues would definitely be communication, sex, and finances, if I'm completely honest. Those are like the top 3 areas. And I think it's really important to talk into this, right? Because both partners, so whether it's a man and a woman, 2 women, 2 men, or like any individual human.
Man, dog and cat.
Yeah, dog and a cat. That's exactly right. I love that. Or a bird and a cat. That could totally work.
Yeah, it would be a rough one. It would be a rough relationship.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be hard.
Imbalance in power.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like with the communication, depending on their family of origin and how they've been brought up, I guess creates these beliefs that they have about themselves. Like, for instance, if a man, when he was a young boy, was told you can't run around like naked, like, I know that sounds outrageous, but a lot of kids will just run around outside free with their nappy on or something, or whatever. But they then might have heard that so many times that then they became self-conscious, or they started to doubt themselves and feel like a failure because, oh, am I not good enough? Like, is it bad for me to like run around free or whatever? And then that belief might turn into something else when they become a teenager and then a young man. Like, they really might not love themselves or their body, or they might just have doubts about connecting with other people, you know?
I think this comes back down to relationships too. I remember there was a guy who gave a speech at my high school one time, and it like really changed my perspective on a lot of things. I've never been able to find him since. I think he was part of a thing called the Oxygen Factory or whatever. Anyway, so he said he had a little girl, a little 2 or 3 year old girl or whatever, and he would go on daddy-daughter dates. And
I love that.
and he said, one day, and he says, he goes and gets some food with her, and he says, "You're so beautiful, you're so perfect," whatever. He says nice things to her, and he says, because when she gets a boyfriend when she's 16, 18, and he says, "You're so beautiful, you're so perfect," that's just a given to her. It's not like she's never gotten that in her life, and then some man comes along and says that to her. Like, he says, she'll just say, "Oh, well, that's normal. Of course I am. My dad's told me that all my life." And like, you think about it, if you're arguing in front of your spouse all the time, and like, there are arguments, there are disagreements that we have. If you're screaming in front of your spouse all the time in front of your kid, like, that's what your kid thinks is normal. They absorb everything. And it's like, do we, if we want to have a mindful practice, like, what kind of relationship do you want your kids to have when they're older? Do you want the kind of relationship that you're modeling? Because that's what they're going to grow up thinking is normal. It's not like 100% guaranteed. They could go through personal change and growth, but like whatever we think is normal when we grow up is kind of what we default expect.
Yeah, definitely, that's true. There's some truth in what you said. Definitely. And like, I love that you spoke about the daddy-daughter date, because that's showing that little girl how she's to be treated. Like, you're to be treated like a princess, like gold, like value, because you are, and you're worth this and more. Like, you know, and then she will hopefully attract in someone that treats her well, like her dad, you know. And I think you're right around, like, we're little sponges as we're all growing from 0 to 7 with our priming years, where we're like soak up everything, right? And then from 7 to 14 is our modeling years, like as you and I know. So like what our parents and aunties and uncles do and significant others, we usually follow suit with behaviors and things. And then our socializing years are from 14 to 21, like going into all the different social groups and experimenting and everything. I think it's really important. Like, it takes a tribe to raise a child, right? I think that the child needs to be having exposure to like sports and creativity and to their grandparents and you know, going traveling or camping, like connecting with animals, connecting with nature, as well as their parents, but having access to different resources, I feel, helps with their growth and development as well. And I think it's important for their relationship with themselves, because if they're okay sitting by themselves and having that alone time, then they're secure in themselves and they're secure in their individuality, right? But then they know in their secure safety attachment circle that it is safe for me to go home to my mum and dad or to my parents and others. And that's creating, I guess, empowerment and autonomy as well. Yeah, and independence. But yeah, no, you go. I've been writing down keywords that you've been saying about like a mindful practice. So, but yeah, I didn't know where to go with that.
It's interesting that you write down. Yeah, you seem to have this life habit of constantly processing information and learning. Like, it was interesting. I've met other people like this, like, or I've just seen that flash in other people. I have this friend who plays a lot of video games, and a lot of people say like, you know, it's whatever. It's what it is what it is. But a lot of people, his mom hates it. And when I talked to him, I realized that he has actually soaked up and sucked as much learning as he possibly can out of each video game, out of the art style, out of the lessons that are in the game. And he's actually developed a whole model of life that is, you know, whatever you think about video games, like he's actually developed an entire life model and learned everything he can. And it just made me realize like how much there is to learn constantly. If you think there's nothing to be learned from your environment, like maybe your mind is not open enough or something like that.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, you said you said communication is important in a relationship, but
yeah.
You know, a lot of people communicate by screaming at each other.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
what does it mean to communicate effectively and well?
Yeah, that's a great question. What does it mean to communicate effectively and well? I think to communicate effectively, it's important that like there's a giver and a receiver of that communication. There's a sender and there's a receiver when we communicate. And to effectively communicate, we need to be able to perceive ourselves and that other person as equal in the relationship. There's no one better. There's no one that knows more. It's just we love each other. We respect each other's differences when there's an argument or a dispute about politics or religion or sex or whatever the topic is, finances or the house or food, whatever it's about. It's important that we respect ourselves and respect our partner. That in it, when we're like feeling into, well, how would I like to be treated and how can I treat my partner? How can I express my emotions of anger and frustration or resentment, maybe. Like some people might have a bit of resentment if they haven't spoken for a few days or a week. So it's like I would advertise to like communicate, obviously, but it's being able to respect that other person and treating them as an equal to you. So it's like, how would you treat yourself? How would you treat, right, this is me, right? So how would I treat my little girl? With love and respect. And I'm going to treat my husband, partner, the same, right? I'm going to treat him as if like he like is of value, because you know a little child, they're of value, so is the adult. That's how I view it. So it's perceiving it, the relationship as equal, and then you're able to get the message across a lot clearer. And also communicating in their love language as well, and expressing the emotion in anger in healthy ways. So sometimes what I do is I'll take a step away to process the information, or to process frustration or the angry energy in the air or whatever. And I'll come in my room here and I might meditate and do some breath work. I might do some EFT tapping. So if you just want to look into EFT tapping, it taps on the meridians and just helps to release emotions.
I've actually gotten a lot of value out of EFT tapping, and
same. I love it.
Yeah, I think I think meridians might be, if you were like a kind of rational, like atheistic person, you could say that like maybe there are quite a few nerve endings there. And I mean, I think a lot of people have, I think, pointed out that like chakras, for instance, are actually, in Western science, we would say they're like bundles of nerves in those areas. And then because there are bundles of nerves in those areas, I say with the meridians, maybe maybe the meridians, like your sinuses are around there, right? So maybe like tapping on them, for me anyway, I found that, and somebody said that perhaps EFT tapping, so I think you, let's say you're low in confidence, you might tap and you say like, I am strong, I am bold, I'm worthy, I love myself, stuff like that. There might just be some value in being in the present, because when you're tapping on your face, you can't be anywhere else. Like you're in that tap. You're focused on that tap.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And some of the things I might say, because it's important to acknowledge the anger or the frustration or the hurt or whatever, I'll be like, for me, it's usually like, I feel scared or I feel unworthy right now. I have a lot of fear going on this podcast because I didn't really organize myself, because I just want to be myself and really, really be in flow and present and just serve. There's so much value here today for you and for the people. And so you're tapping on these different meridian points, like just above your eye, below your eye. And then I say, and I still completely love and accept myself. It's okay. And then I feel scared and afraid and upset or fearful if I say the wrong thing. But I still completely love and accept myself. That's sort of how I do it, because it's still acknowledging that emotion. And then
there's a lot of positivity there. Like, I like that you accept yourself no matter what. And there are all these different parts of us, right? We think of ourselves a lot of times as like a whole, as like a unit, but actually we're also made up of many different, sometimes conflicting parts. Like there's a part of you that wants to get a donut, and there's a part of you that wants to go for a run, you know, and doesn't want to get a donut, you know, wants to be skinny. And so like, I think it's very important to treat each of those parts like they are as important, like they're all valuable and important, because ultimately they all want to help you. Now, maybe some of them were made when you were a kid and like they don't need to be quite the same anymore. Like the part of you, I ate a donut today. I'm not disparaging anyone who ate donuts, but I also went for a run today. But like balance. Life is all about balance. But like, you know, the part of you that wants to eat a donut, maybe it wants you to feel safe and calm and like and satisfied. And so, and that's the best way it knows how to help you. And now maybe you can talk to that part and say, hey, you know, you don't need to eat donuts all the time. Maybe is there a different way that this part could help me feel safe and satisfied and calm? And maybe it'll give you an answer if you actually treat it like it's its own entity, which sounds a bit weird to some people. Maybe it'll give you a response. It'll say, well, I love doing yoga. And so maybe you can say to it like, well, instead of craving a donut, next time can you crave yoga? And maybe it'll say yes, and then you can keep working with these parts. But like, I think battling with ourselves is not the right way to go, in my opinion.
Yeah. So when you say battling with ourselves, what do you mean specifically when you say that?
For instance, if you were to say, like, you said I'm scared, like you were tapping, and then at the end you
Yeah.
said I accept myself. But if you were saying I'm scared, I shouldn't be scared, it's wrong to be scared, what do I have to be afraid of? All that stuff, it's like you're actually just you have the fear part of you, and then you're just creating the second part to like get angry at the fear part of you and try to block the fear part of you and try to like, and then what happens is you get tired, you get stressed, and that secondary part might not work quite as well. It might melt away. And not to mention that these two parts are taking up your energy. They're both taking up your mental energy. You only have so much mental energy. It's not infinite. And so every time you create a new part to battle the first part, you're using up more energy, and that could be spent doing wonderful things. That energy could be spent studying, working, like spending quality time with your family away from stress.
Yeah, I hear you. It's like shoving it under the carpet or hiding it and denying it, which then causes like more anger and frustration and tiredness and stress and overwhelm. And then like verbal abuse might happen for people. And like it's like this snowball effect from the top of the mountain, and it rolls down the mountain and gets bigger and bigger. If we don't acknowledge that feeling or emotion or event, and if we keep hiding from it or denying it or shoving it under the carpet, it's going to have to want to come out eventually. Like the camel, there's only so much the straw on the camel's back can go for before it wants to break and it explodes. So to prevent the explosion is to do self-care practices and to self-regulate ourselves first. So sometimes, say if there's two people that are really angry at each other, like yelling, like I might be like, oh, like the toilet seat, you don't clean it the right way. Oh, but you didn't clean the kitchen. It could be something as basic as that. So then what I tend to do is like have a shower to cleanse my energy, do breath work and meditation in my room. So I'm regulating my emotions myself. And then I'll process the information, and then I'll come back at the end of the day and say, listen, I'm really sorry about like getting angry and outbursting. Can we sit down and talk about this? I'm really sorry. And then like it's that equality again where we both talk it out, have a cup of tea, hug it out, I love you. And then usually we forget about it because we've solved whatever it was. That could be an example on how to self-regulate. And then the co-regulation is the coming back together when all the fumes have gone, because the anger, all those powerful emotions, they feel powerful at the time because you get these symptoms like hot flushes and like your pupils are like dilating, your fists are going, your heart rate's going, you're so angry, you just want to burst. And then from there, it takes 60 to 90 seconds to feel that emotion of anger or happiness, whatever emotion it is, and then we then choose to keep feeling it. So it's important that we find our own personal outlet, like boxing with a tree, or like I like to yell sometimes in my car, or I'll sing and dance to just shift the energy and the emotion, or I'll go into the shower, have a bit of a cry, or scream it out by myself, and then I'll come back, because then I don't have that angry energy anymore. I have more grounded energy, and I'm more open and receptive to listen to the other person and to see it from their perspective now. So remembering that anger or the frustration or the hurt or the happiness is usually an acute reaction from a trigger that's happened a long time ago or has happened recently, and then we feel it for no more than 90 seconds, and then we choose to keep that neural pathway going in our brain, that old pattern. You know what I mean?
How do you get, so that's excellent. And I think especially like one of the best things to do, I think you're exactly right, is to like take yourself away from the situation. So like one of the first steps is like noticing that you're angry and then removing yourself from the situation, and then you can see everything better. But once we realize that, how do you get to the trigger? Like, let's say you had an issue from when you were a kid, your dad, you, whatever it is, and how do you actually resolve that so it doesn't keep coming up all the time?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's going to be different for each person and depending on how they release emotion and express themselves. I think it's like important to create a healthy routine. Like I know that I said, if I go for a walk, I've had a good day, but it's creating, if you need a routine, have that routine to keep that safety, and giving yourself that 30 minutes a day of self-care time, like bath time, hot cup of tea, doing your EFT tapping, journaling, putting in a massage for yourself once a month. I do at least usually a chiropractic appointment or a massage once a month as my self-care month thing. Going for the gentle nature walk, whatever it is that feels good for you, going to boxing class or a dancing class or something that's just yours. It's not with your partner, it's just you. Then
Mm.
that's filling up your cup. And I know, like we're talking about the trigger, so it's releasing the pain, I guess, in some degree. But another way can be through finding a health practitioner, maybe like someone externally that might be able to help you to heal that past trauma or that trigger, so you're able to move forward. So whether that's with someone like me, like a holistic relationship coach, counselor and healer, or whether that's with someone that specialises in EFT tapping, family constellations, hypnotherapy, psychotherapy, psychology, psychiatry, the medications if you need that as well for support. I look at things holistically, so I love like GP, psychiatry, psychologists. I think we need them, but and they have a place. But we also need counsellors, coaches, for the practical tools and techniques, for the ongoing support, not just a once a week visit. Like we're usually here a lot more often, and we give a lot more practical tools. I guess psychiatry and psychology look more in the past. They may medicate you if that's appropriate. And the GP looks at everything from head to toe, right? Physically and medically.
Sometimes you have a brain injury, you know?
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah, exactly. And things happen. But yeah, if you feel like that trigger keeps coming up, say for someone that's like they were hit by their mum or dad and it keeps resurfacing, finding someone that you resonate with, like coach, psychologist, kinesiologists are really good as well. And just having that extra support once a week or even every fortnight or once a month, just to help you to create new neural pathways, or to heal that, or see it from a new perspective, or to talk it out with the cognitive behavior therapy. That can really help to heal people. All of the things that I've mentioned can help people to heal and to create the life that they want to create in the present moment and for their future. So sometimes we do need to look at the past and the old patterns so we can heal it, and then we can change how we're doing our current thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. And it's important to have support people around you, good friends and family. It's important to be around people that uplift you, that respect you, that love you, and that bring out the best in you. So
that might be one of the reasons people would get a coach in the first place, is because maybe their friends and family aren't quite on that level. Like, we're all on a different level, and it doesn't mean your family's, especially, I say especially family, because you can't really get rid of family, but
exactly.
your family might be concerned with their own things. They might be perfectly wonderful people, but they're just not quite at the same level spiritually as you are. They don't quite understand the whole working through emotions thing, the whole, and so maybe a coach is just somebody you can resonate with and bounce off. Like, apparently the one of the best markers of a therapist as to how they're going to do is just how well you get along with them. Like, it's not the technique they practice. It's not any of that stuff. It's just, I think a lot of times one of the things a coach or a therapist is a person you trust, who understands you, who you get along with, who you can talk to, and who can, kind of hear you vent week after week and day after day.
Yeah, definitely. Someone that you can open up to from A to Z and beyond A to Z as well. Like, I love how you said that, someone that you can trust, because it comes back to trust. That's our first chakra system, is the root chakra. Like, we want to feel safe and secure. And like a baby, when we're born, we want that safety and security and that bonding. And as adults, like, we want to feel safe as well. We want some type of certainty in our life. And
I've found as well that like a lot of going back to trauma, like
Yeah.
a lot of trauma seems to be stored in the body.
Yes.
I don't know if you've read that book, The Body Keeps the Score.
I've heard of it, but I haven't read it yet.
Great book, yeah. It's just, I mean, it's just this general idea that like this we have this idea of like talking, like so we have in Western medicine, in therapy's all about like you take a veteran, you take a Vietnam vet who saw all sorts of terrible things and or Afghanistan, and he talks to this therapist and nothing seems to get better, and because actually some things aren't really in the talking part of the brain. Some things are kind of stored in the body, like your body has been like your I think sometimes we see ourselves in Western concepts, and I'm not, bashing Western medicine. I kind of am. That's a lie. I am.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm doing. But
Yeah, no, that's cool. Let's do this.
we see ourselves as like a brain in a vat. It's like, and our brain seems separate from our body in so many different ways. But it's like, no. I mean, mental health is physical health. They're the same thing. Your brain is in your body. Why would you think they're different? Like, and and so, and just like, and physical health is mental health as well. Like and so a lot of trauma survivors, for instance, in The Body Keeps a Score. I haven't verified this, but he's some sort of scientist guy. He says that a lot of people who are obese have been sexually assaulted. And then they build up this kind of protective layer around them. Maybe there was some sort of childlike intuition that, if I'm not attractive, then I won't get assaulted or whatever it is. And maybe every time they get scared, they eat or something like that. Or every time those memories come up, they eat. And maybe they're scared to go outside and exercise and try new things. And so, but, and he found that, and separately, he also found that like veterans did really well from a yoga and breathing class. So all this therapy that they did, all this talking and talking and talking, didn't work as well as like doing some yoga and like feeling your body again. He said like he said a lot of times, once again, assault survivors didn't have a lot of connection with their pelvic area. So when you did yoga and you opened up the pelvic area, suddenly they were like feeling all of these feelings, because you could think of there's this idea, and you can verify this independently, people at home, you can totally verify this independently, that the body has like our mind has like a mental map. And so we store certain feelings, and that's why like if you're anxious, you might feel it in your diaphragm. It might feel like some tightness in your diaphragm or something like that. And so I think we neglect the body in a bunch of different ways. Do you practices like this?
I agree with everything you've just said there. Like, I think everything's interconnected, and I like, with my background in registered nursing, yes, people come in for surgeries, they have births, they come in for mental health problems, whatever sector they're going to get support in and help in. But it's not just, okay, they've come in with a mental health diagnosis of whatever it is. They're not just on medications. It's because they've been through some type of trauma or assault, sexual abuse, whatever, or, domestic violence or something, or PTSD. And it can create, from the medications, weight gain, but also I feel from the emotions, because they start to believe I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy to be loved, and they'll put that protective mechanism up. If you look at Louise Hayes' books, she talks about the different emotions in the physical body. So when we have like lower back pain, we might feel unsupported in our life, for instance. That could be another one. If you look at spinal flow therapists, they look at the different energy points on our spine. So spinal flow, and it usually comes back to different feelings and emotions that we've held in our body since childhood or through a trauma. If you look at kinesiologists that do also reading ancient wisdom and alchemy, they look at not only the physical body, but they look at the emotional body and the energetic body. So some people might have, like you say, have like pain in their hips, and they're like, why am I getting this sciatica pain or hip pain? And it might be because of a trauma that they went through in their childhood or something like that. It doesn't necessarily mean it is, but for some people it could be. And there's many other therapies that can uncover this as well. But I think there's truth in it. I know when I started doing yin yoga and I was opening up my hips, I was crying a lot. I was able to release all this emotion. I even ended up menstruating again. It's like my whole body was opening. So
Wow.
it's cool. Like, yes, doing all the therapy, and like I can advocate for all of these healers, because for pretty much each one I've mentioned, I've been to all of these at one point in my life, right? But I'm like, oh, I'll just do some yin yoga, and it really helped to open up my hips and all of that energy and emotion that I think that I'd had trapped in there since my childhood. And I think I held on to some family trauma and generational trauma in there too, if I'm quite honest, which I'm happy to share. But yeah, it opened up that sacral area. The hips is usually, in our pelvis is where we store a lot of emotion and energy that needs to be released. So I highly recommend yoga with a really, really good yoga teacher as well, if you're into that, or I do mine online. And I think it's important to, and with what you said about the weight gain, I think it's all to do with protection. Definitely, not all, but some. Like, people say, oh, it's hormones, and I'm on this medication. And so, yes, it could be, definitely. Could be because of diet and not exercising. That's okay. That's cool. But not cool. But let's look at the full picture. Like how did this happen? What was the root cause of this? Like, yes, this is what we can physically see, but what emotions are stored within you? And why are they there? Where did that come from? That's what I would be curious around. And I know for certain family members of mine that went through trauma, they actually, when you said that, I'm like, oh yeah, they are a bigger person. And I think it is actually, there's some truth in that, protecting themselves from being attractive and protecting themselves from being hurt again from, I guess, people they thought they could trust, you know what I mean? Or institutions that they thought they could trust. And even if it's subconsciously, they might not know what happens, or subconsciously they're putting on the weight to protect themselves. But I think it's definitely an area to look at and talk more about.
Yeah. I'd love to hear more about the family trauma.
Yeah.
Generational trauma, I believe. Would you care to talk more about that?
Yeah, I'd love to. Did you want me to talk on my personal experiences on that, or did you just want me to talk into generational trauma?
Your experience, yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. So I guess for me, like, I was fostered out. Like, can I go into that?
Yeah, anything you want.
Yeah, okay, good.
There's not the off topic.
Like, open up the treasure trove. When I was 2 weeks of age, because both of my, and I won't say their names, but both of my birth parents had, I guess, schizophrenia and bipolar, and they had really traumatic upbringings, really rough upbringings, like such as like verbal abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, all of those types of abuse. And, you know, that can really damage people. It can change their trajectory of their life and what they're going to do with their life. So my birth mother ran away from home, so she was on the top of Australia, and she came all the way sort of down to Victoria way.
As far away as she possibly could get.
Yeah, literally as far away. She was only 14, and like on the streets, homeless, hostels, all that, like drugs and whatever else people do to survive, to make money, without saying it out loud. But people get into certain occupations because they need the money, right? Or they're trying to feel that hurt. So, and she was trying to run away. So of course anyone would want to do that. And I'm glad she did, because she's helped me. And then she met my birth father, and they got married and had 3 children. And then, yeah, I was the second born. My brother and I are a year apart, and I've got a younger brother also. We're 5 years apart. And she wanted a better life for us, so we were all fostered out in different homes. My 2 brothers ended up together, and I was taken further away. And it wasn't until I was in my 20s that I finally realised, through being told and reading my notes, that your birth mother did this to protect you from the generational trauma that's been going on. But I didn't even know. I was like, really? They're like, yes. She did this because she loves you. She did this to heal the family line, to interpreting it, to help you to have a better life. And her 3 wishes for me were to be like in a safe home, have a good education, and be treated like a princess. Hence my name, Elizabeth, right? My full name. So those were her wishes. She got what she wanted. I've got a good education, been treated right, and I've skipped all the trauma that they went through. So I'm really blessed in that sense. And my business is based around my birth mother, particularly because I want to help women to heal and transform their lives, to heal their families, to heal themselves. So she's my biggest why. Like, yeah, she's my biggest why. I'm my biggest why. My partner's my biggest why, and my future children that aren't here at the moment, they're my biggest why, because I want to be the best person that I can be, and the best mother one day, the best wife. Like, you know, that perfectionist part of us, but like, I want to educate people, write books about it, talk about it. Because my birth mother, it got to the point where now she's in a nursing home and she has a tracheostomy, so she's not able to talk. And spiritually and emotionally, I actually feel like she's got that tracheostomy because she never expressed herself. She never was able to speak up because she felt so disempowered in her childhood. And she never spoke to someone like in a spiritual sense. I don't think, maybe in the system she would have, but the type of healers I've met, I don't think she had that opportunity. Maybe she wasn't open to it, I'm not sure. Or maybe she didn't have the capacity at that point, because I think she was totally disabled. So that's why I want to have this business where I help individuals, women, and children to like express themselves and to feel empowered and to have a voice again. Because yeah, my birth mother didn't. So yeah, she's my why. And I guess that's my experience around generational trauma. Yeah.
You met her since then?
Yeah, I've met both of my family. I've got 2 families. So I've got my mum and dad that raised me, and then my mum and dad that birthed me. So
what was it like meeting your
I loved it. It was great. So I was 4 when I was told that, you know, you got 2 mummies and daddies that love you. And I think deep down, like, I knew, like, I always knew I was different. I think I went through different anger periods and identity changes and stuff as a teenager, and like being forced to write letters. I'm a good writer now, but like, you know, no more play. We've got to sit down and write every family member a letter. I'm like, okay, fine, let's do it. Let's do it now. I've got half an hour and then I've got to go back and play on soccer. So it was like, I guess when I met my mum, it's like I knew that we were connected somehow. Like, maybe I didn't know she was my mum, but like I knew that she was my mum. If you know, like, it's
how
like
old? 4 when you first met her. Okay, got it. Yeah.
So I might not have cognitively known, but I feel like energetically and emotionally I knew. Like, I'm like, yeah, we're connected.
And do you see a lot of similarities in her, in the both of you? Yeah.
Yes, it's so weird. I got my partner to like meet them. I'm like, listen, you've met my mum and dad, and now I want you to come and meet my other mum and dad. And so we did that, and I'm like, listen, they're going to be different to my mum and dad and to your family. Like, they've had pretty rough upbringings and stuff, but they're beautiful people. They're very loving. And he's like, okay, and it was fine. But my partner came out and he's like, oh my gosh, you and your mom both have the same energy. I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, you both have this innocence and purity about you, like this energy that I can't pinpoint. I can't say it in words, but you both just have this beautiful energy about you both. And so I'm like, that is such a blessing. It's like I'm carrying through the gift that she's given me, and I'm going to be able to pass that on as well. So I'm very blessed. So we share some type of energy.
Wow. And that really speaks a lot about your partner, who can see the energy, the beautiful energy that you're carrying, and can see the beauty in other people.
Yeah, I think it's powerful. So my partner's very very spiritual, very logical, very direct person, black and white, but very, very spiritual, very much needs divine masculine. And he's been very supportive of me. And yeah, he sees things that other people might not see and understand. He's very open-minded, and very loving and caring and kind soul and person. Like he'll do anything for anyone, you know.
Now, this is off topic.
Yes.
You don't have to answer this, but just in my head, you said when you did yin yoga,
yes,
you took your period back for the first time. How long had it been since you didn't have?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. This all interrelates, right? Because I've always had, and I hope this is okay for the men that are watching this, but we're all human, right?
Let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's just do it. So I had irregular periods, right? Menstruation.
Yeah. Irregular every couple months, like what?
Yeah, every few months, super heavy. When I was 13 and a half was my first one, and just it's never been regular. It's never like every 28 to 35 days. It's never been like that, really. Sometimes it would be painful. It lasts like 5 to 12 days. It just depends on the season. And I guess as a teenager, like it's usually slightly irregular and then it'll regulate.
Yeah.
And I got all tested. Yep, nah, you got a good uterus, great ovaries, no polycystic ovarian. Problem. I actually believe it's from generational trauma and emotions that I've stored there, and that's what I believe, because when I've doctors, the ED, they can't find anything in there. They're like, I'm like, well, then why is everything abnormal?
Yeah.
And my bloods are all normal, and my uterus and ovaries are normal.
Yeah.
So I think that I've just carried some of, like I've done a lot of healing on it, but I think I'd carried a lot of those emotions forward. But I think through doing yin yoga and breath work and exercise and being in my healthy weight range and my nutrition, but particularly when I started yin yoga, and I've been doing acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine, I pretty much try anything and everything.
Yeah.
It's just regulated everything. But particularly the only real change that I'd made was the yin yoga and doing the movements. Once I did that for a week, bang, it came really fast. And I was like, that is so weird. Like, what's going on? It's the same. It happened once when I was nursing my nephew. I think he was still breastfeeding with my sister, and I was nursing him. And then I think I must have been releasing the oxytocin hormone with him, like just regulating, like, oh yeah, like putting him to sleep. I literally went to the bathroom and I was bleeding again.
Oh.
Like, what is going on, man? Like,
I've heard. Go on.
I think it's the body just releasing emotion and just releasing anything that it needs to, any toxins, and I think that's what I believe.
Like we wonder why. Some people wonder why, like, we are so emotional after when we have our period, and maybe it's because that month you've stored up a bunch of things, and you stored out some anger that month, and you need to get it out. Like, because some months I'm perfectly normal, and some months I've got some I'm more emotional than usual, and like I do wonder if I just it does seem like a release. And
yes, I love getting my period, and I love menstruating. Like I don't feel any shame around it now. Like I just embrace it. But it's funny that we're talking about this because I've got the marina in. So it's device in the uterus.
A hormonal IUD, right?
Yeah, hormonal. So like normally you'd only spot bleed. Very rarely, but mine's now coming like once a month. Still light with a little bit more than light, but I was just like, this is amazing that my body is open to being a woman, even when there's like a hormonal contraceptive in there that's also blocking.
I've heard that it changes your personality in certain ways. Have you noticed many changes from the marina?
Yeah, I think that when I first got it, because I was on antidepressants at that stage, through a workplace bullying incident in 2016 and 2017. Literally, I did try everything, like all these healers in Western and alternate therapy. But I think 6 months later, I went on the marina because my partner and I had a discussion, and I'm like, listen, I'm not in a very good mental state. I don't want to, like, I was crying all the time and anxious, having panic attacks, and I didn't want to bring in a baby into that environment. So I said, I want to get the Marina. I'd stopped the oral contraceptive because I'd been on it for 13 years. So Dan came with me, got it sorted, sat by the bed with me and everything, and it was good. But I think combining that with an antidepressant, I think I was like really angry, and I think it just like kept all my emotions in my abdomen. And I felt like sometimes the energy was harder to shift.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it helped with my creativity at all.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So I definitely think it affected me physically, obviously, and chemically. Like putting on weight chemically with my emotions and hormones would have changed. It wouldn't have been my normal hormones, like my normal balance of hormones. When I say that, like with your estrogen and estrogen and like testosterone levels and stuff. So I'm looking forward to having it taken out one day, because then I feel like it'll just regulate itself.
Yeah.
With what I'm doing, yoga, nutrition, and seeing medicine people.
Yeah. I do wonder, like, because you just said you've been on it for years, and so I'm not to talk shit. I'm sorry.
Go into it. Let's do it.
Like, from what I understand, I have some friends who are doctors, which pretty much makes me a doctor. I mean, you know, what the difference really?
Yeah. I love you. I've got some friends that are doctors and psychiatrists.
You're also a doctor, pretty much. You know, whatever.
No,
but I asked them about birth control, and they said that it makes your body hormonal birth control. I'm not sure about the Marina, but the pill makes your body think it's pregnant. And I wonder how many behavioral changes we have when our body thinks that we're pregnant 24/7 every year for years. And like people are saying that maybe we select mates differently. Like maybe we don't choose the same person as we would have. I think it depends, because I've definitely heard multiple sides. Like I've heard people say my partner's, you know, I would have chosen him anyway, whatever. Like it's been just as good. And then I've heard stories of people who get on or off birth control and then suddenly don't like their partners anymore. I know a guy who said things are going great, and then she got on birth control and then she hated him. And so I don't know. It's interesting. I wonder what the implications are.
Yeah,
but
it is.
What do you do? I mean, you can't condoms. Nobody likes condoms.
Yeah, you're right. Not many people do, but it prevents STDs and STIs. So everyone wear a condom if you don't want to.
Even if you're not having sex, wear a condom. It's just better.
Yeah, that's it. And and if you're not ready to have a baby, you know, it can help.
Oh man, if the listeners need that advice, I think they're probably pretty far gone. I don't think.
Yeah, that's it. I hope they're laughing right now. It's like, oh my gosh, we went from awesomeness to condoms. How did this happen?
Oh, that's very interesting. So, speaking of which, you mentioned before that one of the issues with that people have in relationships is sex. What issues do people have around sex? What are some ones?
Yeah, I think and if we link this back to like trauma or family upbringing, I think there's your answer there. What was our beliefs around sex when we were teenagers? What were our values around that? What was our religion or our religion? I was brought up in Christian upbringing. Was there any trauma in childhood? Like adding all of those layers, or even as simple as like you're not allowed to have sex before marriage, like all of these beliefs, or sex is bad. You know, that can really disrupt like the time in the bedroom, right? Because then you're like, well, that's not a turn on, or you feel this shame that, oh, I can't have sex, it's bad, or it's taboo, when really it's not. They're not only like, a lot of people think, oh yeah, okay, sex is just for making babies and creating, but it's also for pleasure, it's also for fun, it's also to connect, to have that connection, to have that spiritual and emotional connection. Sex can just be a physical thing, but sex can also be an emotional experience, so for both men and women. And, you know, society says that men have higher sex drives than women, and that's not always correct. Sometimes a woman can have a higher sex drive than a man, and that's okay too. So it's just finding out like what your partner's beliefs are around sex and what their values are, and what yours are, and how you can compromise or how you can come together to create that pleasure where it's that giving and receiving. There's an equality there. There's a respect of yourself and the other person, of your body and their body. And if both people are open-minded, definitely like explore your sexuality, exploring your body on your own through masturbation, through self-pleasure, but also through like what and what does your partner like, what do you like, figuring out what you both like and what the boundaries are, if there's any boundaries as well. So
people have a hard time talking about their what they're into.
yeah
I imagine that is probably correlated with, well, I mean, it's a vulnerable topic, but like,
yeah,
you know, some people are into some really interesting things. So how do you bring that up to your partner? How do you build that trust so they can talk to you about it as well?
Yeah, I definitely think the 3 T's in a relationship that Dan and I have come up with is trust, talking, and teamwork. So really trusting each other. You want to feel safe that what you say stays between you two. So like you can talk about like your beliefs, your values, but like what your expectations are around sex, if you have any, what your sexual desires are. So whether that's with like toys or bondage, or I think some people might like be into like porn and things like that, or adding people into the mix, like all that type of stuff. There's heaps of different relationships out there, and I respect all types of relationships.
I don't respect all of them, but I get what you mean.
Yeah, you understand what I'm talking about. So yeah, I think like having that discussion where you know each other's beliefs and values around it, the boundaries around it, what your sexual desires both might be for each other, and yeah, just finding that compromise and where you both are happy to meet. You know what I mean? Because then once you both get it off your chest and you say what you actually want, then like we're not giving the power to the sex anymore, or to the lack thereof, or the too much, or whatever. It's like now both individuals have the power. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if your partner has like a lower sex drive than you, I don't know if you've been on Reddit, Dead Bedrooms, but it's full of people like, oh man, it's great. It's full of people.
I need to read that. Reddit, Dead Bedrooms, is it?
Yeah, it's full of people who have partners who don't have sex with their partners, essentially, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Very emotionally, very upset people. A lot of very negative. But how do you negotiate that if your partner has a lower sex drive than you? What do you say to them?
Yeah, definitely. You say what you feel and what you mean. I think you can say things like, be direct. Just be like, listen, like, I want to have more sex. This is my desire. This is what I want. And like what's going on? Like, put it out there. Get it off your chest. And then talk about it. Comes back to that trust, feeling that safety. Then you can talk about anything. And then when you talk about anything, you become a team. You're like, okay, well, I'm happy to do this part of it. I'm happy to do that part of it. And you make it work if you both want it to work. And also, to get to sex, there's better things we can do that feel better. Like there's like you got your masturbation, you've got the things that lead into it as well, like the intimacy part, the kissing, the oral sex, but also the holding hands, watching a movie, going for dinner, the warm up, that intrigue before you hit climax, before the orgasm, the dress ups, the bath time, the shower time, that eye gazing, the conscious breathing, like the tantric sex. I haven't fully gotten into that. I've read a lot about it. I will try it out. But where you put each other's hand on each other's chests and like really connect to your breath, into his or her breath, and just when you're consciously breathing as one heart, then that person may feel safe and more vulnerable to open up and then engage into the sex. But it's not just about the end result of sex and orgasm. You can have an orgasm and intimacy that can be so much more fulfilling than just the sex, if that makes sense.
That sounds a lot like your solution sounds a lot like it's fixing a problem of not feeling connected enough. And so I think you might be right. Maybe maybe people who don't want to have sex oftentimes don't feel connected enough with their partner for some reason. So like what you said with the date, holding hands, like kissing, and then maybe there's also levels here, because maybe you can do that without expecting sex in the beginning as well. And then just build up the connection, and maybe think of why is there no connection here? What is going on that is creating a loss of connection?
I feel like it definitely comes back to connection. And taking away those expectations, because when we take the expectations away from ourselves and our partner, instead of thinking like, oh, she or he has to do this like tonight or on Sunday or once a week on a Wednesday or 5 times a week, when we take it away, then we're in this beautiful flow state of giving and receiving. That it's not that we have to. It's because we want to. Like, even if we're tired, we want to. Even if we've got 5 children, we want to. There's that desire. It's finding that desire and passion again. And finding other ways to find that pleasure, being creative with it, and like a massage or something, easing into that. But it definitely comes back to building that connection, building that trust, because you don't know, like maybe something happened to your partner or to whichever partner in some point in their life that they haven't healed from, or maybe they feel self-conscious about their body, maybe they feel unworthy, disconnected from their body, or they feel like a failure. So anytime something doesn't go right in the sex department, always go inward to self first, instead of blaming, because a lot of people might blame their partner, like, why isn't this happening, or it's the kid's fault, or we work too many hours. But coming back to ourselves and saying words of affirmation to your partner, like, I love you, like, you're beautiful, I love your eyes, I love your breasts, whatever it is, like, I love your beard, I love how kind you are and caring. That might, and flirting with them, that might be laughing and dancing in the kitchen while cooking dinner, that might open them up over time. And if things don't work out, you're halfway through it, and whatever happens, you can still say I love you. You can still have a shower and hug it out. You can still have those emotional connections. Sorry about that. You can still create that emotional connection, that energetic connection, which can lead into the sexual and physical connection. So it's building each other up and knowing that it's not about rejecting yourself, or that the partner rejected you or you've rejected them. It's just both people need to be open and energetically ready, and emotionally ready, and physically ready for that. To be vulnerable.
To be vulnerable. Okay. Well, we're coming to the end of our time.
Yes.
Might say goodbye to you pretty soon. This has been a wonderful conversation.
Oh it has. We went pretty deep. Hey, that was cool.
It was great. Happy with that. We covered a lot of topics. That was a ride. So where can people find you?
Definitely. So you can find me on Facebook or Instagram. So Facebook's Liz Ross, Liz space Ross, RASS. Instagram is at Lizzie Ross 1989.
Lizzie, how do you spell that?
LIZZY Ross, RASS 1989. That's the year I was born. And my website's www.lizross.com.au. And that's where you can find me.
Amazing. I was so impressed by your Facebook page, how regular it is, how much of a following you have. So you've done super well. I can't wait to see how much it grows in the future, how many people you reach out to and help. Very excited.
Thank you so much. I hope to help as many people as I can. Women, men, families, like individuals, like anyone that resonates with me and that wants to work with me. And if we get along, obviously it makes it easier if we're both a good fit. I just want to help people to heal themselves and to know that they're loved and that they have a voice and that they can express themselves and they're not alone,
Amazing. All right. Well, I'll talk to you again soon. And thank you so much for spending these 2 hours with me, Liz.
Thank you so much for having me, Serene. I've had an awesome time, and I love that we just totally talked in flow,
Yeah, that was great.
It was awesome.
All right, until next time. See ya.
All right, see you later. Thank you.